Frieren is currently ranked as the #1 anime of all time on myanimelist.com, and it's not particularly close. I think it's hard to call this anything other than a massive overrating, and this is coming from someone who actually likes the show. I think it's double plus good, and perhaps when the whole thing is finished and animated, it might rank among the all-time greats, but I don't think it's anywhere close to there yet. I wouldn't even say it was the best anime from the time period when it aired. I would give that to The Dangers in My Heart Season 2. But I'm not actually upset about this. In fact, I'm kind of happy because it says something really interesting about the current state of anime. See, why would a show like this be ranked so high? Of course, it's good. Many people like it. I don't doubt that for a second. But it's not just a matter of being good. To be rated this high, it also has to defy expectations. People like this show a lot more than they expected to. So why would that be the case? Well, I think that many people are realizing, perhaps for the first time, that an anime that's relatively slow and character-driven can actually be really good. And for this many people to believe that, it says that there is this whole generation of anime fans right now that didn't live through the slice of life boom of the late 2000s and early 2010s. And that makes me really happy. See, those were dark times for anime fans such as myself, but the one good thing about that time period was people did realize that slower, character-driven anime can actually be good. I'm on board with that, but then they would extend that to the fallacious corollary that these kinds of anime can't be bad. And in fact, to think of them in terms of being good and bad doesn't even make sense, because how could an anime like this possibly be bad? If nothing happens and it's kind of boring and all the characters are stupid and they just sit around telling each other shitty jokes. Well, that's just true to real life. And isn't that the whole point of a slice of life anime? In fact, that just makes it all the more artistic. For those of you who are new to the game, it might sound absurd, but this is how actually people talked back then, and some of them even still do nowadays. But yeah, it was tough. It was tough being an anime fan back then. What got us out of that, thank God, was the isekai boom of the mid-2010s. I can watch isekai all day. Thank God for the isekai boom. It brought us out of that. It brought back interesting plot. It brought back action. It brought back premises. And most importantly, it brought back criticism. You just take a look at a show like Solo Leveling that just came out. It's a perfectly good show, and it's being criticized left and right. I love it. Every anime should be criticized like that. And this is the problem with these slower shows. A lot of people watch them and they suddenly think that if they like these kinds of anime that they didn't expect to like, their tastes are suddenly more sophisticated and more mature. And they're suddenly too good for plot, they're too good for action, and they're better than everyone else. And on top of that, they refuse to even recognize criticism of these shows as valid. The problem there is that if you do that, you're just going to get more of the same. You're going to get a bunch of crap. And if you do this with something like Frieren, just watch. Years down the line, we're just going to get one crappy Frieren clone after the next. So it is a good show. I'm glad people like it. I'm happy that it's rated so high, but we need to start being a little more critical of it. So let me get the ball rolling. Here are some of the things that I don't like about Frieren so far. Of course, some of the episodes are kind of slow and therefore boring. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You have episodes where Frieren just runs around and then she makes a flower bed somewhere and, okay, whatever. It's not like this is greatest anime of all time material. It's fine. Some episodes like that, they can be charming, but you need really good episodes consistently in order to be a top anime of all time. I don't think episodes like this count towards that. Okay, Fern and Stark. I think they're very average characters. I don't think I would even put them in the top 10 most interesting characters of the show. Fern maybe cracks that, Stark certainly doesn't. Now, over the course of a very long show, things can change. I'm sure they're going to get a lot of character development, but so far, I'm not impressed. The show reuses a lot of the same plot devices. You'll have things like the Himmel flashbacks. You'll have Fern pouting, which sparks this whole little plot thread. It's fun once in a while, but doing the same thing over and over again, it does get a little tiresome. It also has its fair share of dumb humor that's also often repeated. How often are we going to laugh at Frieren getting stuck in a treasure box? Okay, we laughed the first time, maybe the second time. We're done with that. Okay, now here's what I do like about the show, because I am a very fair reviewer. I give credit where credit's due. I criticize shows where criticism is due. It is unique. That's one of the things that seems to appeal to a lot of people. The slow pace and the feel-good aspects of the show do often work for it. Sometimes they are very charming. Also, despite being kind of feel-good at times, it can also be really brutal at other times. And that's great because it keeps you guessing. If something's going to be always feel good, then the outcomes never surprise you. They're just kind of lame. But if you think maybe everyone can die, or maybe everyone can get along, then when you have an ending where everyone does get along, you can actually appreciate that instead of being kind of underwhelmed by it. Okay, there are some great side characters. One of the reasons why I wouldn't put Fern and Stark in the top 10 is because there are so many good side characters here. There's some good world building, some interesting magical system. There's some great music, great openings and endings. I believe the animation is pretty good at times, although I'm not the greatest critic of that. Still, I do think it's well done. And so, given all that, it's double plus good. It's one of the better shows that I've seen recently, and like I said, once the whole thing is finished, maybe it will be a triple plus great show. But it's certainly not there yet. On my AnimeList.com accounts, I have finished 835 anime. If I had to just give it a rough estimate of where I would rank it, I would say it would probably fall between 100 and 200, which is a really good position, but it's nowhere near number one.